Welcome back to the first last podcast from the first to last in Nerdum, where the temperature is rising, the body count is climbing, and summer camp has never been less safe. That's right, it's time for a brand new theme, a slasher summer. All month long, we'll be celebrating one of horror's most beloved subgenres, the slasher film. Expect mass killers, isolated locations, creative kills, final girls, and enough questionable decisions to make you wonder how anyone survives until the credits roll. And this week we're heading to Camp Arrowak with the 1983 cult classic Sleepaway Camp. At first glance, Sleepaway Camp seems to have all the ingredients of a typical early 80s slasher: a group of campers, colorful counselors, summer romances, and mysterious killers stalking the grounds. But before long, it became clear that this isn't just another Friday the 13th clone. Beneath its low budget charm is a film that's stranger, darker, and far more unpredictable than its reputation might suggest. Over the years, Sleepaway Camp has evolved from an overlooked horror oddity into a bona fide cult classic, thanks to its offbeat tone, memorable characters, surprisingly effective suspense, and one of the most shocking endings in horror history. We'll be discussing what makes Sleepaway Camp stand out in a crowded slasher landscape, how it has aged over the decades, and whether it deserves its place among the genre's all-time great cult favorites. So pack your sleeping bag, don't wander off alone after dark, and whatever you do, keep an eye on the campers. This is the first last podcast in Slasher Summer begins with Sleepaway Camp.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It does. Yeah, that is certainly the one of the. And I lost the window. So there we go. Sorry. There we're back. Sorry. Yeah, this this one we were kind of joking before about what did you get me into this week, Tom?
Yeah.
But but before we do go to the main event, we have some bills to pay. And who are we? What are we doing here? This is our website, FirstLastNerdum.com. As you can see, that's our home base there. It's kind of perpetually under construction, but I suppose a real home base is YouTube, as always, where you can find the last 378 videos that we've done, 379, counting this one. And also, we'll direct the audience's attention to our shorts section, where you can find the most current output that Tom has picked up from his pull list. I even I love to check in on what Tom is doing and looking at. Some of it is a little bit not my taste, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. But it's always there for you to do. Now, some of them have overlap, and that's fun when we do have that. But with that being said, Tom, what do you say about our offerings on YouTube?
Oh yeah. Well, it was fun last week. We did Falling Down, movie that's kind of stuck with me. It's you keep thinking about it, so that may be one that kind of grows on you. But yeah, so check out. Yeah, we did Psychos last month. So if you like slashers, maybe you want to check out what we had in our bag for Psychos. We didn't just do horror movies; we did a whole plethora of psychos.
Yes, we did.
um, but yeah, so yeah, just check out what we got there. There's definitely stuff you might want to check out. I think you wanted to hit our socials. I'm on Reddit under First Last Nerdum. So if you're coming over from Reddit, hello. Yeah, sometimes I get by, sometimes I don't. Yeah, I posted on 90s movies last week, and got a good reception of people coming over. Um, and I'm there under First Last Nerdum, so you might be see me popping around. I'm also on X under First Last Nerdum. That's where I'll post what we are talking about that current week. Might put up some other nonsense as well, so just kind of keep a lookout. And
Speaking
my
of, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say you've got your own socials.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of other nonsense, like me on social media, I too am available at Sofa King Jewish _ on X as well. And a man astride a donkey turned the wrong way. What does that mean? Well, I don't know, but it's the internet, so it must mean something, and it must be also true. What is also true is this one, 1983. This one, I would say. I would use a word like deep cut. I don't know if that's true. I just know that 1983 was a very cool year. It wasn't as good as the year before it, but it was pretty good. So I was amazing. 1 year old, not even when this came out and this visited the world. Such an interesting thing because this this I mean instantly you just like the other movies, some of the other movies that we saw that were not shot in the 90s or the 70s or whatever. Uh, this like just like Falling Down, we did instantly you know what era it is. It's the 90s. It's got that. At least it just makes more sense if you lived through that time and you knew what was what and what it looked like, what it felt like. This when this film opens up all the way through to the very first part, like the wicked high socks and the the just the 80s it just felt like 19 early 80s like that you're used to
the
seeing like
the guys in their short shorts.
yeah, no, that was the style. Yeah, I mean, yeah, what would be called probably ranger peonies today, which are they're just really cut, really short men's athletic shorts that used to be the style. And they are still are in certain circles, but yeah, this one I just didn't know what, and I've always been kind of a little bit of a hands distance with the slashers because I kind of told you my origin story a little bit with horror because I just kind of chalked horror up to just being Friday the 13th, and it was just permutations of that. Not true. Whatsoever. So I kind of got that. Not that I don't enjoy a good slasher, but here it is. And here we are.
Yeah. My history with it is I didn't see it back then. In fact, I kept every once in a while to hear about Sleepaway Camp, but I was a little bit of horror snob with slashers as well to start with. I kind of thought, well, slashers sort of like the lowbrow horror fan. I love slasher movies. I'm more into the art house or the really bizarre horror movies. That's my bag. So I was kind of standoffish with slashers until I like watched a few, and yeah, I was I would take a Giallo over a slasher, which hey, I think you're probably more the same way.
I am, yeah, yeah. Not
But
that I don't like slashers. It's just kind of like I grew up in the era like where it was Jason and Friday the 13th, and unless you were on one of those teams or whatever, it was alien to you, But and
yeah,
I certainly have my time with it, but yeah, I never saw this
yeah,
originally
and
or ever really since before this
yeah.
week.
Yeah, and I think Anchor Bay did a DVD and a VHS back in the day, in the early 2000s. But I think there were some issues with that. I know they didn't get like the proper cut on at least one of the Anchor Bay versions, and they also later on they did a triple pack with the first three Sleepaway Camp movies and put a Red Cross on it for survival kit and got sued by the Red Cross.
Oh no.
uh, and for using unlawful use of their little symbol, whatever. But it didn't really hit my radar until the Blu-ray that Shout Factory did in 2014. I picked it up in 2015. I think one of my horror podcasts was talking about it, so I had to check it out because it was like I said, I'd heard the name Sleepaway Camp, but I didn't know what it was. I thought it was probably one of those disposable slasher movies out there that had nothing to really call its own. But this movie is such a unique, weird slasher movie. It came out um not too long after Friday the 13th. It
Yeah.
kind of Friday the 13th sort of inspired the director to go ahead and do it because he wanted to do a movie. He wasn't quite out of, I think, film school, and he knew probably the best movie you could get, the most bang for your buck would be a horror movie. And he had some experiences with these camp deals, so that's sort of a I think it kind of inspired him. Friday the 13th inspired him to do it. It's not like really a knockoff because he definitely has a story to tell. Very
It
different.
is it is true. You can fault you one of the things you cannot fault this is having an original, an original. Yes, well, we'll get there.
But yeah, so the slasher genre hadn't really been stamped out. All the cliches and all the
Yeah.
things you have to have for a slasher hadn't been ironed out yet. So this was very fresh. It's still finding its way. So there's not a mold that it has to fit. And this movie definitely doesn't fit very
No.
many molds.
Well,
But
and and we saw this too with with a young director with the first at bat. Sometimes you can see an amazing mess. I think back to like we covered the Michael Mann's second film. It was uh God, we it was the Nazis and the anime.
oh yeah,
Anyway,
the keep, yeah.
yeah, you can tell like there's potential there, but also, there's also a lot of filler and kind of grasping around at this. But wasn't he was fresh out of film school when he wrote and directed this, and he had you like you said, basically he was nobody knew him, and he got this,
Yeah.
and it has some slasher standards to it, but it does tell its own unique story. And was this filmed at an actual? Because there is a lot of authenticity to like the world building, so to speak, that he gets for free because of how he filmed this and when. Is that correct?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he went to summer camp himself as a child, and this is the camp that he went to as a child. He was
Okay.
familiar with the people that owned it and talked to them and was able to make out a deal to film there. So I think they spent like there was a hotel close by, so they would actually stay at the hotel and then drive over to the camp to film. And this was all off season, so they filmed it in like August, September after the summer camp had wrapped up. So yeah, they had a free reign of the camp, and yeah, it was just sort
Okay.
of like even though they still stay at the hotel, a lot of their time they spent there at the camp. So there was sort of like a camp vibe, with all those kids. Back in those days, it was very typical to for if you had a group of kids, well, the kids in the movie that were supposed to be like 14 or 15, they would cast like people in their 20s, to play
Right.
like a like a teenager. So this was one of those very first movies where they actually cast the correct age for the kids. So Felissa Rose, who plays Angela, she was 13, and then Ricky, who's her cousin, he was actually 17. So and then there was a, with when you have a bunch of teenagers together, you're gonna have some, teenage drama. So there was actually a budding romance between the two cousins, the
Oh, that's
actors
funny.
actors in it. They on the bus ride to the location, she wrote a little note, and one of her girlfriends passed it on to him. So I think I like you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's
But
funny.
yeah. So there is a little bit of they would kiss and hang out together, but then later on, there's like a volleyball scene with all these teenage girls, and they brought in a bunch of SAG actresses over, and they were kind of older, and had more of a Hollywood look to them, and he was kind
Right.
of wowed by them, and he fell in love with one of those older girls, and caused a little bit of a drama between, because then she goes, "Well, you're my boyfriend." They
Oh
finally had
man.
to take them into a room together and say, "Hey, you got to work this out. You're gonna
Right.
have to act together." So,
You're gonna have to be an adult. Well, this also feels and it captures like youth, I think, very well because of how it was shot, where it was shot. That you alluded to that a little bit before. There's also kind of like where some actors are natural and others are very strange, to say the least. But it does add. I think it adds to the kind of the off kilter atmosphere. Like there. I'm not gonna like. There are some good acting, like nobody blew anybody's socks off, but for the most part, it works for the your main leads, and you buy it. But it's also it doesn't. It's also kind of got this that offbeat nature, but it adds to it. It kind of all jumbles together, and and they go for it, and you kind of go with them, you know.
Right, yeah, they hired, yeah, a mix of, first time actors and, some veterans like, the guy who plays Mel, I think, is like a it was his last role, and he's been in a lot of things. But also, I think the girl that plays Meg, she was a
Mhm.
soap opera actress at that time for All My Children, I think. So the ABC, they said that the ABC brought her over in a black limo to, on her first day there. So yeah,
That's funny.
it was a big deal that she was on there, at least for the teenagers that were there. But yeah, so basically we kind of skipped over, but yeah, basically the story is well, we get a little thing where it shows where there's like this big boating accident at this camp,
Right.
and a father and potentially one of the children, because there's a boy and a girl, the father and one of the kids possibly pass away, and we jump cut 8 years in the future, and a boy and a girl is going off to camp for the first time, and Aunt Martha, who's a great, great performance by the I forget her name, but yeah, that I think she's my favorite character of the whole thing is Aunt Martha, played by Desiree Gould. She's the right mix of weird and strange, and sort of kind of sets things up. You know something's kind of off with her. She says she's a doctor, and there's it's a little hubbub about, I guess the medical or, whatever. But she sends them off with paperwork, and so they show up at the camp, and yeah, I never went to summer camp. I think the closest thing I went to was my older sister was getting into 4-H, and I think they had a
Hmm.
weekend or a few days where they went off to camp or something, try to
Yeah.
get them
Yeah.
to join. And I think my mom brought me and my younger sister there for one day, so I was running around, having a fun time hanging out there. But yeah, I've never really had that whole experience. The only thing I know it from are like the movies and the TV shows that are based around summer camp. But have you ever been to a summer camp?
No, I never did. I would, if anything, I would get to go, spend extended time at, grandma's house or grandpa's house, grandma and grandpa's house, or aunt and uncle or something like that. Then we try to rotate that throughout my childhood growing up. But no, I never got to do that. I certainly did camp out with my friends, but yeah, I wasn't the summer camp type. Just never grew up with it. No ill will toward that. Like it sounds like it's very fun for those who get to attend summer camp, but also band camp. I've heard that that's pretty
That's a
good.
little crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah, in this movie it's I think I think it plays it maybe a little bit more realistic. There's a lot of bullying in this movie. There's a lot of kids being less supervised, and they're being supervised by teenagers,
yeah.
so everything's a little bit more loose. There's a sense of anything could go, the kids are kind of running amok and cursing and getting up to shenanigans. So yeah, there's a sense of there's a sense of danger at all times, or just yeah, that yeah, you might not be safe as if you were in like some other environment.
Yeah, they don't shy away from the kills. This is definitely a slasher. And it earns its credibility from that standpoint too. And essentially you're kind of there is just like, well, I'm not an expert enough or even an amateur enough to know if slasher films generally have like a whodunit, kind of mystery element, but this does have
Yeah.
it's kind of meant to sort of make you think it's one thing, and you're shown on purpose like what this looks like. but in
Yeah,
reality,
that
it's different. Misdirection classic. But you
right.
but anyway, I'll pause there.
Yeah, I think with yeah, the more I watch slashers and giallos, there's like a very fine line that a lot of them share the same things.
They
There's
do.
a but yeah, it's just like the American version is a slasher. Yeah, less detective work in a slasher, but yeah, there's all there's usually
It's also like a price to be paid or retribution to be had or some kind of a score settling kind of,
yeah.
righteousness-ish, or like an evil righteousness kinda sort of vibe to American slashers versus, like, giallos, like, but anyway,
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a bullying. Angela, she's a quiet one. And she's her cousin is very protective of her. So there's like there's that dynamic between Ricky and Angela, and Angela is getting bullied by the older girls, Judy and Meg. Which and Ricky himself is kind of butting heads with the older boys. So there's that it kind of focuses in on I think with slashers a lot of times there's not as many suspects. There's really when I was watching this originally, yeah, I think the thing about the slasher is even though there is a bit of a mystery, you're not like constantly trying to figure it out. You're just kind of enjoying it as you're going along. At least I do. So when the so because you don't think there's going to be a big reveal, and this movie does have quite a big reveal at the end.
oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah, we I guess we could talk about the ending, but we'll do that later. Because obviously if you haven't seen the movie, you definitely want to see it fresh. You don't want the ending spoiled, so we'll save that for the end. But yeah, there's the movie goes into different levels. You there's a lot of it gets into some uncomfortable areas. You start off, you hit it off, and you got this pedophile chef.
Uh-huh. I was gonna well, to go back up to underline your point of the bullying too, like, it's like kind of like, old school, like, shit rolls downhill, so, like, the
Mhm,
counselors bully the teens, and the teens bully the
mhm,
younger kid, etcetera, but
mhm.
and then you just yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension, a lot of things that aren't even below the surface. They're above the surface.
Yeah, there is no safe adult, there is no real authority to lean
Mhm.
on, it is very, casual-ish, camp, summer camp,
Yeah.
it's kinda meant to be not as rigid, not as whatever, and oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. There's Mel, the guy that owns the place, played by Mike Killen. He was actually suffering through cancer at that time, and this was his very last movie. I think he passed away 3 months later. But yeah, he's sort of like this really bizarre figure. He's always smoking a cigar, and there seems to be even with him, there's like a relationship with one of the camp counselors,
Right.
Meg. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. But yeah, this movie is just there's a charm to it, even though it's got this layer of sleaze on it, but there is a charm to it as well. It never lingers on things too much. Like I said, um, there is the creepy cook, but he gets dealt with pretty quickly. So you never really, there's like a moment between him and Angela that gets
Mhm.
really sketchy, and then he gets taken care of. So, um, but yeah, it really kind of it touches upon different themes. There's a sort of uh uh kind of a gay element to this movie as well, but it never really lingers too long on it. It's something that you could chew on if you want to, but it quickly goes on to other things as well. So I think it does a good job without getting too heavy
Right.
at any particular moment.
Well, Well, you're kind of meant, and again, the atmosphere there is actually builds is actually very realistic as far as
Mhm,
like it goes, like probably too realistic, but it's a horror film, so like
mhm.
you have the adults are checked out, they're either trying to cover something up, they got
Yeah,
they're
Mel's very concerned with, shutting the camp down, and he doesn't want that
that
to happen.
Yep, or for and there's, again, aside from it existing, like, there's kind of, like, no extra, reasoning behind it's not really needed, but then you also, like we just said, you have the predator too that gets dealt with, or you just outright negligence, like, just
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and drink my beer and whatever the kids are doing or, whatever the kids are doing. And,
Right.
but the Friday the 13th, like, the camp was cursed because something bad happened in the past and it
Mhm.
it haunts the place. It's the
Right.
ambiance. But whereas this
Yeah.
the camp is the bad thing. Like
Yeah.
there is a lot of like I said, it aims in to be almost too on the head for like the social dynamics of camp life. Like I mean, there's
Mhm.
whether you have the softball games or color wars or who gets to sit who, but or I mean who gets to sit where at meals, or who's hooking up with who, like we kind of covered
Yeah.
before, like that actually happened on the scene there for that month that they filmed this. Because they
Yeah.
only filmed it 4 weeks, I think. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, they said August to September, but yeah, um, yeah, no, there's some dialogue in it that's just it's classic. Like there's the softball scene where they go, "Eat shit and die, Ricky. Eat shit and live, Billy." There's there are a lot of true back and forth that happens, and some real good lines there. And also, it's the '80s, so there wasn't
mhm.
any getting in touch with their feelings. There was pretty much everything was on the nose, like you said, with Angela not talking. That was very frustrating for the other campers, and they yell at her, they abuse her, even the boys. Kind of, yo, Angela, why are you so fucked up?
Yeah, yeah. People in this movie show their caring in a multitude of 80s old school ways. you
Mhm,
know, but and you're right, Angela. She she gets she is the bottom of the totem pole no matter what. And when
mhm,
Judy targets her because, she is the newest thing and the newest
mhm.
thing around gets is interesting for a
Yeah.
minute. And but Judy can't have any of that, not even for a second, like that.
Yeah.
It just the counselors participate in it and the adults and they're practically enable it. So you have
Yeah.
this nightmare, like this nightmare fuel, like it could almost be a John Hughes movie, but it's filtered through that nightmare lens of like it's not quite as rosy and smooth as it should be or is.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And but I think one of the things that kind of endears it is the relationship between Ricky and Angela. You can tell that they both care about each other. Especially Ricky, with how he's very protective of her, and there's a suspicion that maybe he's being a little bit maybe too protective, and maybe he's the killer that's going on. So, it was a bit of a family affair. I think Robert Hiltzik, he's the writer director, and they also co-produced it. His I think girlfriend at the time, that which becomes his wife, was also a producer on the film, and her family worked on they worked on the film as well. They catered it and did all sorts of stuff.
Oh
So it
wow.
was a really big family affair. Also, I think when they were doing the hiring, a lot of it was the '80s, so like a lot of the kid actors, the parents would show up and take them there, but then they would bail out. They weren't there. Whereas the girl that plays Angela, Felisa Rose, her mother was always on set. She said that she sort of became like the den mother,
Hmm.
to to look over all of them. But yeah, a lot of them, it was like I said, it was kind of like summer camp. They were kind of let loose, and I think there's like that character in the movie Mozart. I think the actual actor, he kind of got bullied,
Yeah.
whereas I think Angela, the girl that plays her, it was so different from Angela herself that off camera she was sort of like friends with everybody. They had showed pictures of her hanging out, and in fact, she said that scene where the two guys were sort of verbally abusing her, calling her idiot, and why don't she talk and stuff. She said
Right.
that was one of the most fun nights because they were just cracking up laughing, between takes. So it wasn't as maybe heavy handed as it could be.
Yeah. Well, you have her as she plays in the film. She kind of is almost like a blank canvas that you can that we can kind of paint what we want on her. If it's what she's going
Right,
through, like if we want to sympathy, suspicion, unease, like just being uncomfortable, like all of
right.
these things are all true.
Yeah, and I
With
think when he was casting the girls, he would have them eat like a candy bar, and then also just look,
Mhm.
just stare, and yeah, she I guess had like the best acting by not verbally, but by just through the eyes,
Yeah, absolutely.
But But yeah, and then there's Paul, the guy that decides to befriend her and maybe become her boyfriend. They say he was very very much the same character off camera as well. Just very nice guy. But yeah, he's yeah, a lot of these actors they said that from the interviews and the commentaries, a lot of these actors kind of kept in touch with each other. They became very good friends, and throughout the years they've kind of stayed in contact. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how those little movies can cause these lifelong friendships.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, even like they were talking about how the the creepy chef guy, very very not like
And the cook.
the cook. Yeah, he wasn't creepy off camera. He's a very nice guy. They said he was very intellectual. He's off reading a book and off to the side, and also that giant almost comedic pot of the that he's like putting
Oh
the
god,
corn in.
the
Yeah.
yeah, the man-sized, what the hell is that thing? Like,
Yeah, they couldn't find a pot that size, so they actually had to have that made. So
that's
yeah,
funny.
if you're looking for a pot like that, you're not gonna find that at least. You'll have to have that specially made. Uh,
Well, as comedic as it is, it is a pretty visceral kill. That's
yeah, and
as well.
but it's not really a kill. I that's one of the things I was gonna bring up.
Oh,
There's
well,
a
I guess
the body
it's
count.
implied.
Yeah, the body count on this movie, they said it's 13.
Mm,
But I have some qualms with that because they
uh,
include the two the father and the child at the beginning of the movie,
oh,
which
okay.
not
I don't really
I
count
guess
that.
that's yeah, I don't really count those. And they count Artie the chef, which he's not dead. He's very badly degree scolded, but he's not dead. He's not a body count, I don't think. So I would say it was 10 as opposed to
13.
13. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it would be kind of fun to keep a tally of the body count through the month so we could find out what our total count is at the
That's a
end of
good
the month.
idea. Yeah, yeah.
so so yeah, if you want to argue with us in the comments down below, if you've seen the movie and you really think it's 13, you could argue your point. But yeah, I would say 10. At one point, the only kills that I have a problem with, and in fact, the director, after time has passed, he says he is the part that he would probably change is there's the little campers, the little kids, they get killed at one point. There's like four little campers that didn't do nothing. A lot of the other kills you could kind of say they were maybe they didn't deserve to die, but they were asking for it. There's
Right.
very bad behavior that they were exhibiting that led to their death. At one point, there's some little campers out camping. They're left alone, and the killer wants the hatchet, and ends up doing away with I thought there was only three, so my count was off by that too, but there was actually, I guess, four that get chopped up. And he said that, yeah, that it's kind of a senseless. They really didn't fit in with the rest of the crimes, but yeah, I can see where it just kind of adds to the body count. But yeah, it's just sort of like it didn't really fit with the overall movie. I did think.
Well, this is where this isn't, I mean, it's a complete movie, but it's also not a complete movie. I mean, it's missing some things that don't fire on all the cylinders, but wins you over with some charm. Or just, well, we'll get to it.
There is some funny moments, like there's the sheriff that shows up after one of the kills, and that could be an accident. They're not quite sure at that moment, and the owner Mel is trying to convince the sheriff that it was an accident. The guy has a very 70s mustache, the sheriff does. And then the later on he shows back up. But you may have noticed his mustache is very fake at that point, which he had to do a commercial, and he came back and his mustache was shaved off. So instead of I guess maybe just leaving it off, they put in a little Groucho Marx kind of mustache on him.
Oh
That
God.
there's one close up scene that really shows off the bad mustache. But yeah, if you didn't see that the first time, you might want to kind of look for that next time. I don't know if IMDb has a picture of it or not, but yeah, I'll look to see if there's a picture of his classic stash. They do have one of his of him with his yeah, yeah, that's him with his flashlight. You can't really tell too good there.
No, it looks just look like normal. Mustache.
I did have
No.
fun looking at all the the band t-shirts and the posters on the wall. There's the there's the one with one kid with the Blue Oyster Cult shirt.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then there's like a Loverboy poster, but yeah, it kind of yeah, there's the Blue Oyster Cult shirt. A little wide collar on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Well,
the
I mean, it was a different time, and so 80s had the start of a little bit of the androgyny, a little bit, a little bit. The 80s had their own kind of version of it, but this movie definitely had shades of it. Like I think you had kind of touched on it a little bit before, that there's a little bit of a layer there if you choose to see that and expand upon it, which is interesting. It's interesting, surprisingly deep for like what you get with this film, but
Mhm.
it did make money. I don't think we touched on the box office, but it was made for peanuts, and it actually
Mhm.
didn't it make a buck?
Yeah, it
Quite a
did
bit of a
quite well.
big,
Yeah, enough
yeah,
enough to inspire a couple of sequels. But yeah, it's but it was like it didn't make a major splash. It didn't, like do
did, no.
gangbusters. But yeah, it did enough to make some shekels. Yeah, it's one of those movies where yeah, it kind of was different than the regular slasher, because in most slashers you have a lot of at least one sex scene in there, and you got the ladies would get undressed, but there's not really any female nudity in this movie. There's a lot of male nudity in this movie, a lot of man ass in it. So yeah, that's one of the things
You can
that
say
gets
that.
brought up about this movie. There's maybe a oh, there's his mustache right there. If you want to bring that up,
Oh
there's
god,
his.
that's awful.
Yeah, yeah,
That is awful. Oh god. It
Yeah,
looks like electrical tape.
yeah. So yeah, if you go back to the gallery, you can scroll up to the scene where earlier in the movie where yeah, scroll down. No, that's back whenever he's got the fake one. But if you scroll, there you go, right there.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's way
That's
more
the real
yeah.
stash.
Yeah,
So,
he looks completely different. Wow, he's a different guy. Like,
it's yeah, they probably could have just left the stash off, but I'd probably been so yeah, there's that big controversy with what is it? The Superman and Justice League whenever he had the mustache in the Mission Impossible movie.
oh,
They
yeah,
had
and
a
they had the
CGI'd up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
so unfortunately they didn't have CGI here, but I think mustaches could be a problem either way, even if you have CGI. Because yeah. So
Consistency is generally the key. Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, yeah, there's a lot of just memorable scenes in this movie. Was there a particular scene or segment that you really were taken
I
with?
I for as much as I enjoyed it, and I did, there is an aspect of it I did, there's just a little bit of just kind of like alienness to like where I couldn't quite I mean, I enjoyed some of the things, but like I kind of guffawed more than anything. But I did like when they were boating. I
Mhm.
think that my favorite kind of like encapsulation of what this film was is like when they were jet skiing and the girl is on the back and you think she's having a good time, and then, you see the lifeguard and the one girl is kind of pestering him to do something or whatever, and he's like, "God, knock
Mhm.
it off. I got a job to do." And you think that she's having a rip-roaring time. And pause it because she was fucking crying, like, and she was not enjoying her jet skiing, thing, and it was just like, it perfectly encapsulated the film. Like you got a lifeguard, like a kid that's playing a role that he was never meant to play, and then you have the kid like at the same time. The kids are essentially in charge, and it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
sets. But it did remind me a lot of the '80s, particularly. But did you have a favorite scene or something that stuck out to you
Yeah.
aside from like the ending and some other kind of uh,
Yeah, no, I think my favorite is Aunt Martha.
Aunt
The
Martha?
scene with scene at the beginning, and then there's a scene at the end with her that I don't know that I wanted more Martha, Aunt Martha. I wanted a whole movie about Aunt Martha. So, and I don't think we ever got that, but yeah, she's which I guess we're kind of long in the tooth on the shows. Maybe we can get into the ending. So yeah, I think this movie has some rough edges. The acting's not it one of the things what I think there's one of the YouTubers that I like his Planet CHH. I don't always agree with his opinion on different movies, but he had a good point about um movies and say uh cheaper or that not Hollywood movies, but these horror movies that are sort of low budget. Maybe the acting's not always great, but he said that the movies that he can kind of deal with the acting, as long as the acting is on the same level, like everybody's sort of within the range, there. But if say a movie has like acting where half of the actors are really good and half of them are really bad, those are kind of the worst because you're getting those huge dips. Whereas if the acting is bad but it's like universally bad, that you can kind of deal with it. It's sort of like within that universe. And
Yeah.
this movie, I think, doesn't have bad acting, doesn't have great acting. It's just kind of
Mm.
like right there in right there in that universe. You can kind of feel it, you know.
Well, for the roles that were given and the people that showed up to play them, like the acting is as good as it probably can be for some, at
Mhm.
least for the main lead. And
Yeah,
she does
yeah,
a very good job of pulling you in. Like I said, she kind of becomes this tapestry that the audience kind of paints
yeah.
paints the picture on up till the end.
Right.
So,
Yeah, there's a little shock at the end. But yeah, I would say definitely worth checking out. Like I said, it's not top tier movie as far as slashers, but if you're interested in the genre, it's definitely a classic for a reason, a cult classic for a reason, and to definitely check it out. If you haven't heard, if the movie hasn't been spoiled for you, don't look into it. Go ahead and watch it. It's on Tubi. So yeah, it's readily available, and so yeah, if you can find it wherever you want, you find your streaming stuff. But yeah, let's get into the end. So yeah, I was hoping that the ending hadn't been spoiled for you. So I know when I first saw it back in 2015, 11 years ago, it really took me by surprise. I
yeah.
really had, I wasn't, but I didn't know it was going to go there, and it definitely goes there.
Well, that's the thing too, which is like, and it if you I think that if the director were a little bit more mature in his experience, I think that this would be a completely different the different film that would be talked about a little bit more, because it is shocking.
Yeah.
And you also, I think it kind of lends to the perspective that you're kind of sort of given with the film, but
Hmm.
it's not quite. I mean, you're meant to see it from a certain point of view, and you kind of, it makes sense when you kind of step back and you realize who you have been seeing it from,
Uh-huh.
and the what explains. There were some choices that were taken away from from
Right. Right.
from
And then
our yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
there's a lot of it answers the ending answers some questions, but it opens up so many more questions that it's one of those movie one of the types of movies I really enjoy are movies where it's they're complete in and of themselves, but within that universe that they exist, there's so many other questions that it kind of lives within your mind for a long time because you're asking so many more questions, because Angela, you kind of know who she is, but you really don't by the
Mm-mm.
end of it. There's so many questions about Aunt Martha and her relationship to Angela, and how Martha is in relationship to her a father, and the father, there's the element of the father. I guess the mother's no longer in the picture. There's a guy with him at the beginning of the movie. You think, okay, he's a friend, but you find out later on that there's a gay relationship between the two
Right.
men, and Angela. So and the that relationship is kind of revealed when she's making out with Paul, and you think, there's like that, that she has a weird kind of, the fact that her father was in a relationship with another man, that's kind of coloring her idea of, the making out and how that relates to her father. But you realize it adds a whole new layer to it once you find out what who she actually is
Well,
at the end.
well,
And yeah.
oh, I was gonna say too, like, because of what's revealed and how it's shown, I mean, I could make the argument that, that it was could you could easily take it that it was shot from her perspective all along,
Mhm.
for the film, but that which if you accept that view, then you're saying, is the character actually seeing reality or seeing this distorted, kind of fucked up world, that because something happened that was god awful and it caused trauma, it caused damage to this, this kid, and
Mhm.
then there's the natural springboard is like, now it's uncoiling, and when it uncoils, it goes through and it has devastating consequences for that. But yeah, I kind of wonder about that, because it does naturally, it doesn't hide. I mean, it hides things from you, but it also doesn't.
Mhm.
It's an interesting slash, like, it's an interesting way to tell a horror story from this
Mhm.
a slasher ish perspective, I suppose. But
Yeah, and
that
there's the little clues like Aunt Martha saying that she's a doctor, and the medical certificates at the beginning of the
right,
movie.
right.
That's sort of like a
which
a flag, yeah.
they kind of go there. They kind of lay it out there, but they don't. But there, it's really hard to. Because
Yeah.
when I saw this, I had no idea that was coming. I had no
Mhm.
no clue, no clue. So I
Right.
mean, but in retrospect, you kind of pick up those clues. Now, I'm not one of the people out there that are gee whiz and can watch a movie and like, oh, I know where it's going. It's just not me,
Mhm.
not the kind of thing. But I don't know that it would have telegraphed that or that would have been coming. But something like this that happened in 1983, I mean, legitimately, there were no words about that,
Right.
about what it was or what it is. About what the thing is. It's not really about transgender or whatever. It's that really has nothing to do with it. There's some gender bending going on, but like, it's again not by choice.
Right.
It's a
Right.
choice taken away, and you have the product
Yeah.
of that is Angela, aka Peter. So we're starting
Yeah.
up along the line.
Yeah, and there's movies back in the 80s. It might touch upon a certain subject, but it wouldn't have like this movie hits everything broadly.
You
Like,
don't
you've got the PDF file, you have the gay
right.
relationship, which was a bit taboo back in the 80s, and yeah, the transgender thing, which wasn't, I don't even know if they had the word for it back then. So it was like all over the place and hitting on all these taboo subjects,
Well, it
and not doing it in a overly
and
exploitative way.
yeah, and to be fair, what we saw is not transgender. That
Right, yeah, this
transgender
is
it
true.
would
Yeah.
be implied that would be a choice, or excuse me, that it would be something that somebody would want to be or choose. Like this
Right.
Angela that never got
It's
that
sort of
Peter.
anti-transgender. It's
Yeah,
like force,
exactly.
yeah.
That choice was made for them, and then they were made to live that.
Mhm.
So very different than like
Plus,
conscientious,
plus,
willful.
there's a scene where Angela Peter slash Peter is making out with Paul, and you kind of think, well, it's sort of implied because she flashes back to her seeing her dad making out with the man. So you've got to
Oh,
think that she still sees herself as Mel, and
mm,
that kind of triggers that. Well, hold on, this a male to male relationship, and what does that imply? And that's probably why she jumps up and and leaves. So, but there's not a lot of things that are spelled out in this movie.
no.
There's a lot of things kind of shown to you so that you could kind of play around with these ideas. And like I said, invoke, and you're not used to that
Ah,
for a
the-
slasher movie to be able to go into these
Oh,
deeper subjects.
yeah. Well, almost like Giallo kind of weaves in a different, more depth layer of storytelling, in my
Mhm,
opinion. Like there could be like the supernatural. There could be
mhm.
something else larger afoot. That is not that. It's just just somebody trying to get one over on everyone or whatever. But for something like this to have it really it oh god, it was the Timothy Chalamet movie that we saw a couple years ago. It was
Yeah,
it was
bones and
Bootsy
blood, or yeah.
Bones and Blood. This kind of reminded me a little bit of that ambiguity and the soft squishy parts of it, like that are the human parts of it, so to speak. Like
Mhm,
I don't know, it did remind me a little bit of not quite on, but it did have a feeling about it,
right.
like that it is, and the more you watch, you can easily see where that would pull people in because it does have very serious, it doesn't have commentary per se, but it has a feel of commentary,
Mhm,
that is like
yeah.
a message is trying to be transmitted, I guess, but it's also kind of like, like a horror film.
Right,
Um,
and and then there's also the element of, when they were casting, the Angela's, uh, Felice's Rose's mother said that, that she could be cast in the movie, but she didn't want her hands to be the one that kills the people. So the hands that are used, the actor that was used to do that was the guy who played Ricky. So it's actually, her
Interesting.
cousin that
Yeah.
that's doing the killing. So there's that idea of, who is it just Angela doing the killing? Is it also Ricky? Um but yeah, or is it a mix of the two? Are they in cahoots? How much does Ricky know? How much does he not know?
Right.
There's a lot of fan theories out there that are floating around. I also will say that unfortunately, Ricky, his credit in the movie, his name's misspelled. He's played by Jonathan Tiersten. But his last name is the last part of his name is spelled with Ten, and they put it as
Mm.
Ton
Oh
in the
no.
actual movie. So unfortunately, he did a few films, and then he became a musician. So there's that. I will say
Yeah,
on
it looked
the
like he passed away this year too, so that
oh
sucks.
wow. Oh
In
yeah,
April
that's
2026.
oh no. Oh, I see that. But yeah, there's the Blu-ray. There is a music video by him on here. So if you're interested in his music, you can definitely check that out on here. There's like three commentaries. I actually listened to them all three. But yeah, two have the director, two have the Angela, the actress playing Angela. One of them had Jonathan on there. The really fun one was the one that Jonathan and Felisa did, Angela and Ricky. And that was a newer one that was recorded in 2014.
Okay.
So it was kind of a fun one. There's a 45-minute documentary. There's also a little short film called Judy that was done by I think the guy who runs the Sleepaway Camp website. And it's not very good. I tried watching it. I couldn't make my couldn't get through that.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely a good little Blu-ray. I know the sequels have 4Ks. I don't think this one has a 4K, but it's a decent quality Blu-ray. And it's pretty cheap at this point, only $14. So I don't know if it's on sale or if that's the average price of it. But yeah, if it's a movie that you kind of like, I would definitely recommend the Blu-ray there. But a lot of interesting information. They did say that that they to do the ending, they had, there was no CGI. So at one point there was they briefly thought about doing a strap on the actress, and the mother quickly killed that idea.
Yeah.
But so what they did was, to get it, they made a
I
little
get the idea.
plaster, little plaster thing of her face screaming, and they put it on a young guy. They shaved his body, and a young college guy. He at the time that they recorded the video, or the all the extras, he hadn't come forward, but I think on IMDb they said who he was finally. But for the longest time, he never stepped forward because I guess it was a bit traumatic. They got him drunk. He kept drinking and he was crying the whole time. They said because it was very, I guess, traumatic to wear a young girl's, 13-year-old girl's face and be nude on camera. I could see where that may mess you up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
so so yeah, no CGI. So yeah, I think the effect is kind of a uncanny valley, kind of like
Yep.
it. I think I think if they had done it in a way that was more realistic, it wouldn't be as effective. I think the fact that it's so uncanny valley and so bizarre, and it does work but doesn't work at the same time,
Yeah.
that it really leaves a very big impression on you. And I think it hits you harder the way it is there, that it would, because you're like, because the I think the fact that they used a female actress for most of the movie, I mean, that convinced you that it was a girl, because it was a girl. And then the
Right.
ending, and then you're like, oh, whoa, wait, whoa, what?
You're like,
At the end. And-
because then you play backwards in your
right.
like, from that immediate time, like, "Okay, wait, that was what was doing all the killing." And it's like, "What did I miss? I clearly
Mhm.
missed e everything." And then it kinda leaves you in the lurch a little bit. To
Mhm.
and then that's when it starts kicking in, and then you start kinda,
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
maybe piecing together a little bit, but again, like you say, it sits with you because it promotes more questions than answers that you have to get to thinking about, like, well, the answer was a doctor. What? Oh, okay. And then you start to work some things out, but it's still a mystery.
Right, absolutely. And it is a gory movie, but not overly. Like with
Not really. Yeah.
there's Judy, the very the very catty Judy. I didn't realize this, but I guess with they put a pillow over her head and then take the curling iron, but it's all done in shadow. But you know what happens is they stick it up her private area. And, it's sort
I
of like,
mean,
oh
it's
my gosh.
implied, right? Like
Yeah,
where it was
yeah,
left at.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, wow. Wow. So there's a lot of stuff. If you look for it, oh, it's there, man. But yeah, it's one of those movies. I haven't seen the sequels. I kind of
Gotcha.
it's not done by the, I think the writer director kind of wrote, but he kind of licensed those out. So they're not in, the person playing Angela is completely different. So they're also on Tubi. I don't know. After watching this movie, I was like, okay, how can they really one up those, the sequels, how can they really one up it, but but yes, I never really got around to seeing those, but they are on Tubi, so I'll probably get around to watching them. I know the sequels have 4Ks that I've heard are really good, but yeah, if you only see this movie, I think you're probably in good. They did do a the director did do a return to Sleepaway Camp in 2003, I believe,
Hmm.
which I didn't know about that one, so I may have to check that one out because it has a lot of the same actors that return for that. So yeah, that one could be interesting. There's this website. Evidently there was a sleepaway camp movies.com that kept being talked about on my Blu-ray. That
Hmm.
site is no longer available. There's two people that were running the websites. This sleepaway camp films.com mainly focuses on the sequels, whereas the sleepaway camp movies was the first movie. But yeah, I thought I would give this out to people if they want, if they're at least if they were more interested in, like, say, the sequels. There's this, but I couldn't find the other one, so evidently it got axed or something happened to it.
Wiped out. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, one of those old. But yeah, that Sleepaway Camp movies, that guy did a lot of work on finding the original director, the actors, tracking them down, getting them together for conventions and different things. So there's that. He did a lot of work, which was very beneficial because a lot of people thought the director was dead. So, and his death was greatly exaggerated, evidently. But yeah, there's yeah, a lot of them, they were thinking, they didn't know what happened. So, that was kind of cool. And then a lot of them got together and did the conventions, and I think and the story keeps happening over and over where you find out, these people that did a movie, 20, 30, 40 years ago, don't realize the impact that they had. And when they meet up with the fans, it's very nice and very kind of wholesome to know that, that their work is being appreciated so many
Well,
years later.
well, obviously there was like a seriousness and depth. This isn't like campy or kitschy or whatever. It definitely it had a story to tell. It was ambitious, but it did, and I think it did tell that story and to a creepy
Uh-huh.
to a creepy effect.
Yeah.
What your pick is be after this, whether you want to continue and see what the joy that comes from the second and the third, I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that they were working on a fourth that never got released, but I think on the Anchor Bay box set that they did of all three of the movies, they included the footage from the fourth movie. And I think that's the only way you could have access to it. So that's kind of interesting. I did notice a lot of times when we do these movies, and I look on Wikipedia, you find out that there's a remake in the works. And then sure enough, I was looking at the website for Sleepaway Camp on Wikipedia. It says in September 2025, it was announced that Kenan Thompson's production company, Artist for Artist, has acquired the rights to remake Sleepaway Camp with original writer director Robert Hiltzik. So yeah,
Really?
there's so that's possible that there will see a remake with a writer director, because yeah, he didn't he's done like this and he's done that return. So yeah, it's his au revoir has always been just Sleepaway Camp. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's by design or just how it happens, but you know.
What's it said his bio said, or I read on his bio that after this
Mhm.
movie or after the movie this movie that we reviewed, that we
Uh-huh.
just talked about is, that he went off to, be a lawyer and go be
Oh,
successful in
okay.
business.
Oh wow.
So
Okay. So
so
this
and then he
is sort
returned
of a
25 years
side
later
gig. Yeah.
from
Gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah.
so just very interesting
Yeah.
guy. I would you definitely wanna like, he's like, "Ah, I did this thing. Ah, I don't wanna do it." Or whatever. I know there's a story there, so it's just always interesting too. Yeah, it could have just been that, he just like, yeah, he
Yeah, it
found his
is
wife
kind of.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was it.
It started, yeah, it started live. But yeah, one of the cool things about this is like with the commentaries, his recollection of things is sometimes at odds with other people's. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. Listen to him, and then the guy that runs the website would bring up a fact about the movie, and the director's like, no, no, I don't think that's how it happened. Yeah, it was kind of fun. But yeah, definitely worth checking out the movie. And if you do like the movie and want to know more about it, we only touched upon a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff that I found on the extras. But yeah, if you want to know more, you could definitely check out the extras on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this one was interesting and it was a fun. I'm glad you picked it, and I'm glad I saw it. So
Yep. And I will say, through now and July 26th, there is a Barnes and Noble's Criterion collection sale, 50% off all their stuff. I guess I should have brought you the link for that, but I'm sure you could pull that up. But yeah, I thought this past weekend I did find some, and it's just on Barnes and Noble's. Yeah, Criterion does also a sale every once in a while, but yeah, 50% off. I thought I would show off quickly what I
oh,
got this Saturday.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, if you wanted to bring me up big screen, no horror per se, but yeah, some really good bangers. You got The Game by David Fincher. You made me think of this because this is stars Michael Douglas. Have you seen this one?
I have not. Oh my
Oh,
god.
it's one of my
Oh,
favorite
man.
Fincher movies, so we'll have to
Oh,
do
no.
that at one point.
Oh, no.
No,
This is fun.
No
Oh,
Country
yeah.
for Old
Yep.
Men,
Love it.
classic.
Love it.
You got, in that same vein, Miller's Crossing.
Yeah, I have not seen it. Heard
Yep,
about it.
yep, it's classic. Speaking of classics, got the original Scarface.
Yep.
Yep, yep, and, you got this is one we'll definitely have to do this. We've been in on an arc of Korean movies. We did Old Boy, we did the Green Planet one, and this one will finish out our trilogy, Memories of Murder. You remember that one? We talked about that
Oh.
one,
Yeah, yeah,
Memories
yeah.
of
That's
Murder.
awesome.
So we'll have to do that one. And last but not least, The Elephant Man by David Lynch, which just came out
Oh,
this
god.
week on Criterion, which it looks like it's sold out on the Barnes and Noble's website. But the local stores still have copies. That's how I got mine.
That's right.
So yeah, I just got it at my local Barnes and Noble. So if it's sold out online, check your local store, and they may have that. Same way with No Country for Old Men. I guess everybody was buying that one as well. So yeah, yeah, definitely check it out. They also have some banger horror movies that I already have. So, but yeah, like Night of the Living Dead, a 4K of that. Um, but yeah, support your Barnes and Nobles, support physical media. Because when with digital, you don't really own with all that streaming crap, and then if you buy it, there was a big controversy a few weeks ago with Sony. Two big controversies.
Oh,
One
that's right.
was they lost the license to a lot of movies, and so if you'd bought like say Terminator 2 on your PlayStation store, it's gone. You don't
There
have
you go.
access to it.
Yeah, there you go.
All you bought was a license to it. So when they lost their license, you lost your license.
You bought it however many years it lasts. Yeah, no, it's funny because I remember I've always been an early adopter for the digital stuff because
Mhm,
it just I grew used to it very quickly. And some of the movies that I had bought in like
mhm,
2006, 2007, 2008, that kind of that thing,
mhm,
like I paid attention because there were some of my favorite movies that I would return to, like Clint Eastwood,
mhm,
a lot of Clint Eastwood flicks that I love. And I thought,
mhm,
oh, I'll just buy an Apple. Like I'll always have it, blah blah blah.
mhm,
And what happens? Like I would log in one day and I hadn't looked at it in a couple of years or a few years or whatever it was, and gone. So
mhm,
I contacted them and I was like, "What happened to my movie? What'd you do with my movie?" And they were kind enough to restore it, but they said,
mhm.
"We might not be able to do this for you in the future." And I was like, "Say what?"
So I didn't rent it, I bought
Yeah,
it. And, no, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then, the other big controversy is, Sony is, doing away with physical games, 2028, is the cutoff.
so they
No
say.
more after that, but yeah, there's a lot of people arguing and, yelling at Sony, so, let's see if they backtrack or change course. But yeah. I think for me, I think the writing was a little bit on the wall for gaming because it's been years since you bought a Xbox or PlayStation game where it
Mhm.
was finished day one. It's never been finished lately. There's always that first day patch that you have to
Yeah,
download. So if you bought it complete in box day one, it's not the finished game, which is crazy. Now Nintendo is a lot better about that, but I think sometimes they do that as well. But for the most part, Nintendo's pretty good. But the with the Switch 2, they've got those those games that aren't on the
keys.
disc. Yeah, they're keys instead. So yeah, it's a bit crazy. So yeah, me being a physical media guy, I kind of go for download games. Which just kind of seems that odd, but with my stance on physical media, but I we've kind of lost that battle on that. So
Well,
I think.
the thing is that, there is a resurgence of physical media, like, from the younger generation and from people our age as well that miss that.
Hmm.
There are I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're gonna be take over the world, but
Uh-huh.
I see my fair share of, like, high fidelity cassette players, CD players that have built-in, DACs, you know?
Mhm,
Audiophiles out there will know what the hell that is and why you would have or why you would want one or whatever, and then, you have the turntables too, which I am very curious in getting. I have some of my grandparents' old, hi-fi equipment, and it would be cool to be able to connect that up and hook it up and be able
yep.
to do that, but maybe throw a little modern twist in there to, like, where I can play it in any room that I want, and it bridges that gap. But the kids too, the Nintendo, I recently got into the Switch, I got sucked into the Switch from my kids, and even though Switch 2 is out,
Yep.
it's just it's where my it's just cool to be able to pop in and be able to just I no, I totally get it, and to be fair, like, it's been out for, like, 10 years now, so it's not a new
Mhm,
thing to me. I had done my brush with it, and then I kinda, like, 'cause my kiddos were little at that time and they took over,
mhm,
so dad kicked
right.
dad off the console, off the Switch, and it's like, "Okay, well, it's their toy, it's their time," and, years later coming back, it's really nice to be able to just jump into a game and play for 5 minutes or play for 5 hours if I want to,
Mhm,
that's the point, but it's really cool, and, it would just be nice if we could have some kind of a physical media, but, at this
mhm.
time, who knows where Xbox is? I don't even like,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah, they're
you know,
yeah, they're busy laying people off. But,
yeah.
yeah. No,
Yes.
I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're still with us, we do, cover everything. So yeah,
Yes.
we saved this little scab sesh at the end, so yeah, if you're not interested, you can always click off. But yeah, tell us your relationship with physical media, your thoughts. Are we completely wrong about games and physical media? But yeah, yeah, and I noticed that yeah, a lot of the younger people are getting into VHSs and DVDs. My local comic book shop, the guy owns it. He's putting in a lot of half the store's comic books, half of it's toys.
Mhm.
But he's recently been getting into VHSs. He's got like a few of those, and there's I noticed on comic book day, I've been seeing some younger faces showing up, and one guy he came in, I guess, for the VHSs,
Sure.
and he's grabbing some comic books now. So it's nice to see like a younger younger people coming in. It's I don't know if I gotta ask my nephews about it, because they're buying these VHSs. Is it just for the cover, or are they actually playing these? I mean, I never, I've never been nostalgic about VHSs. I always thought they were inferior products because they never showed like the full screen. It's sort of like pan and scan for the most part.
Right.
So you're not getting the complete. I've always been a cinephile that wants to see everything.
Yeah.
I want
I
letterbox, yeah, but yeah.
no, I've always had in my mind's eye what I want as, like, my
Hmm.
ultimate, at home
Hmm.
experience that I
Hmm.
would wish. And nothing is perfect. Whatever
Right,
setup you
absolutely.
go with is a trade-off, so
Uh-huh.
so there's also that very, very adult choice that smacks you in the face, like every
Right.
day, like if you there's the thing. But yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep. Hmm. All right, I think we covered it, and yeah, we're doing slasher films this month. Stay tuned for next week and what we cook up. Yep, should be interesting. We're kind of unless Mike switches us off to more mainstream, but with slasher movies, I want to kind of go the route of the less
Less
traveled road.
traveled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Yep. Yep.
All right,
I've been Mike.
I'm Tom. Yeah. Stay safe out there in those camps.